Hello everyone, it is me, Ready Gaming. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be showing you all how to counter the big three cards that I like to call them. These three cards are pretty much the cards that are used in the meta decks, and the cards of the Hog Rider, the Royal Giant, and the Golem. These cards are used in pretty much every normal deck in multiplayer, and these are the three cards that most people have a lot of trouble countering. So this is the deck that I use to counter these meta decks. I like the Inferno Tower, the Valkyrie, and the Elixir Collector the most because first it helps you gain an Elixir advantage with the Inferno Tower costing less than the Golem and the Royal Giant, and the Elixir Collector is also another distraction card for defensive targeting troops, which all three of these cards are. Another card I like is the Valkyrie because it counters goblins that go behind the hog, and it can also hit both golemites at once. So we are going to hop into the first replay I'm going to show you, which is going to be this deck against a golem deck that I faced in multiplayer. Alright, so here we are in our first replay against the golem, and we are going to be facing this guy. He's got golem, princess, barbarian, minion horde, that kind of thing. And one thing that people do say about this deck, people who I've talked to, is that it's definitely a weird deck. It's not like super meta. It doesn't have any of those three cards that are used like a ton. It does have the Elixir Collector, which is used a lot, but that's about it. Valkyrie and Musketeer also used. But what I tried to do is find a deck that was definitely like out of the ordinary and that counters those three cards. So the Inferno Tower and the Valkyrie are probably the best two defensive cards in this deck because they do pretty much kill most things that are going to come at you that are used a lot. So that Inferno Tower basically just melts the Golem. It doesn't get any damage done, and our towers are still in perfect condition. They haven't been damaged at all. So we do drop the Elixir Collector here just to get the advantage. I do have my own opinions on the whole meta decks. I do think that it's a little annoying that there are like three main decks that pretty much are the only decks that can win. And I'm kind of against them, so that's why I don't really use them that often. The Prince and the Fire Spirits is a good push for me because the Fire Spirits will really counter anything that is going to counter the Prince, and sometimes you can even sneak the Valkyrie in front of that Prince, so something like Barbarians will drop from a Valkyrie swing and the Fire Spirits, and it'll be pretty hard to counter that Prince push. So far, there's not really much damage on our towers, and his tower is at 500 health. It's ticking down, and it's almost gone as of now. So we're going to zap those minion hordes, and all that there's going to be is his princess, and his golem does take quite a bit of elixir to deploy, so he's going to try and build up his elixir, but so far we've got that prince push. The barbarians are pretty much countered, and he's still done absolutely nothing major to our towers. So he's going to drop another golem, and golems are good for distracting offensive troops because it soaks up so much damage and basically pushes them onto your side. So again, he's got the minion horde and the princess, and those two cards are a good combination because one of them will take up arrows, and the other one will come out, and then there'll be no good counter. So that's why I have the Fire Spirits in my deck, because it will counter one if the other is already gone, so it'll also counter the Barbarians. In my opinion, Fire Spirits are good, really good at crowd control and that kind of thing. So we're basically just holding off his offensive pushes, and then we just zap that tower there for the win. He did absolutely nothing to our towers, really, and we basically shut him down the entire time. So that is going to be a 1-crown victory over Huevos y Papas with the Golem deck, and we're going to be right back with the Royal Giant. Alright, so here we are with our replay against the Royal Giant user. This guy is rocking the Prince, which I don't really understand considering the Royal Giant is usually the most offensive card in this type of deck. But he somehow managed to throw in a Prince there. So our Prince push is not going to work because the Valkyrie did not get in front of the Prince, so he was able to counter it with those Barbarians. but they are still at pretty low health, and he did use quite a few troops in order to counter that Prince Valkyrie push. So we do have a tiny bit of an elixir advantage here. He's going to drop the Royal Giant, and I drop my Inferno Tower, and the Inferno Tower takes the Royal Giant completely out. So that does give us one more elixir advantage, because my Inferno Tower is 5 elixir, his Royal Giant was 6 elixir. So right now we're looking pretty good. He's going to drop his Musketeer right here, and I am going to drop the Elixir Collector. So pretty much we've got a fairly big advantage here, because our Musketeer and our Valkyrie are going to take out this Prince and Musketeer. So that ends up being about 8 elixir, taking out 9 elixir, and we still have that pump down, and it is just going to keep making us elixir. So this Prince and Fire Spirit push is going to take out those goblins, and he's just going to miss getting to the tower because those barbarians were able to counter the Prince. This guy was smart, and he waited until the Fire Spirits were pretty much, or one of them had already jumped into those goblins in order to put down his barbarians, so that they didn't get like killed all the way down. So he's going to drop his Royal Giant again. We're going to drop the Ice Wizard to slow down those goblins, and then the Ice Wizard is going to slow down the Royal Giant shooting, which I actually think is pretty good, because he does shoot pretty slow anyways, but making it even slower is going to be good. And then that Royal Giant is going to let us build up elixir while our Valkyrie and Ice Wizard are still on our side. So then we're going to have a humongous push on the other side with the Valkyrie, Musketeer, Ice Wizard, and Prince. And at this point, I am at a huge elixir advantage compared to him. We've got so many troops on the field, and he is basically just dropping all of his elixir at once in order to try and counter this push that we've got. So our Prince is going to finally end up getting to the tower, and we've got 2 Musketeers and an Ice Wizard there, and the first tower is going to go down. He drops his Barbarians to try and counter it, but at this point we've got like 5 troops on the field, and he's not going to be able to counter this with anything at all. We're just going to keep building up our push. He's going to drop a Royal Giant to try and soak up that damage, but the Musketeer, the Valkyrie, the other Musketeer, and the Ice Wizard are just going to go ham on that King Tower, and we're going to get the 3 crown. So, what I like about this deck is that it's kind of like the whole Jason deck thing that went around. The more you use it, the more you get accustomed to it, and the better you battle with it. So honestly, every deck, it just takes time to get better and better at playing with it. But I would manage to get that 3 crown there against a Royal Giant user, which Royal Giants tend to be pretty overpowering decks. So obviously that was a pretty good battle in my favor. Alright, so this is my battle against the Hog deck. I did have to get somebody in my clan to battle me with the Hog deck because my replay got deleted on accident. There was something about like a maintenance break or whatever, where the last replay I had beating a Hog deck with this deck got like messed up, or the replay was not available. So here is the Hog deck. He's got the Hog Mini P.E.K.K.A, and he's also got the Guards, which are a very good counter against my Prince, so I'll have to watch out for that. I do use the Prince on the other side against the Hog and the Mini P.E.K.K.A because he's going to be able to tank that Mini P.E.K.K.A and take out the Hog with it too, and I knew that the Guards were already used up, so we couldn't drop them to take out the Prince. So, this guy in my clan, he's going to drop the Guards to take out the Musketeer, which is also a good use of the Guards because they are able to take out anything that's like single shot, because it takes like 6 hits alone just to kill all of them. The Valkyrie's going to go down the lane now, and he doesn't have many great counters for the Valkyrie. He's got the cannon, but the Valkyrie's still going to go to the tower and get a couple swings off. And at this point, we are basically just kind of resetting and waiting to see what happens here. He did drop his cannon in a good spot because my Musketeer can't take that out. Usually the Musketeer does outrange the cannon, but he's going to drop his Hog Rider and Mini P.E.K.K.A. I zap it to stall the Mini P.E.K.K.A and the Goblins, and then that Inferno Tower is able to take out the Hog Rider and stall enough for the Mini P.E.K.K.A to not be able to get a hit on our tower. And the Ice Wizard is going to take out those Spear Goblins, and now we've got a pretty big Elixir advantage going into this push. He's going to drop his Valkyrie, I'm going to drop my Valkyrie, sorry. He's going to drop his cannon, and then we've still got those Fire Spirits that are going to go take out the tower, and he still has nothing. And then he ends up dropping his Guards, which the Prince decides to ignore, and the Prince decides to swing at that tower instead of the Guards, which was, I guess, pretty lucky AI on my part. He does have his level 4 guards, so they're going to survive that Ice Wizard. But this other Ice Wizard and the tower is going to take them down. After their shields drop, they're pretty weak. So he accidentally drops those arrows, which was kind of like a go-ahead for me. I'm going to push for the tower, but he is going to zap those fire spirits, so only one of them was able to counter those goblins. The Valkyrie is just going to keep swinging at that tower, and the prince is going to get hung up by the guards. So far, he's only done a couple hundred damage to both of our towers, not really anything significant, and there's only 30 seconds left in the battle, so it's basically a question of whether I can 3-crown or, like, whether I don't, because he is not going to be able to defend this and get one of my towers down, so he's basically just got to settle for the 1 crown or give me the 3 crown, because he's not going to get anything here. I do let his Hog Rider kind of go at it with that tower, because I kind of wanted to see if I could 3-star, but in the end we just don't have enough time. His Hog Rider's still not even going to get our tower down, and we just barely missed getting the 3 crown, but I still do beat that Hog deck with my unusual kind of deck, and that deck has pretty much worked out for me so far, with those 3 big cards being the Hog Rider, Giant, and Golem. And yeah, so those 3 were the battles that I wanted to show you guys. This deck is pretty unique, but once you get the hang of it, it's definitely a good counter to most of the decks that are being used up at the top. And don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll be back making more videos and stuff whenever I feel like making another one. But thanks for watching.